So in a previous video, we took a look at this Milwaukee M18 12 amp hour high output battery. This battery ended up having some cell issues and used the INR 21700-40T cells. So I decided to buy an 8 amp hour battery that was broken to get some cells out of it and possibly repair this 12 amp hour. And as I shared in that video, the pack was not only broken, but it had a 6 amp hour internals or guts in it. So if you'll see here in this quick clip, you can even see the different color of the cells being gray. So these are the 30T cells and not the 40T. But I mentioned in that video that I did have a good board, and even though the case was damaged, I might make a LiPo pack out of it. So in this video, let's take a look at using the BMS board and at least a connector plate, if not the whole battery housing. And let's put these LiPo 5S 1500 milliamp hour little packs on it. I believe I paid over $30 for the two, and as you can see here, they're currently on sale for just over $20 for a 2-pack. So that's why I decided to use these. It's just super cheap and just an easy way to make a battery pack that you can unplug and plug up and even have other charging options. So the XT60 makes it easy. And please don't comment below that, yeah, this is a 1.5 amp hour battery and it don't have the capacity. I mean, we understand that. It's obvious, but this is a pretty hot little pack, being a 100C LiPo output, so it can pack quite a punch. So we won't have near the storage of the 8 amp hour pack, that's for sure, but we'll probably have just as much or more output for short duration, and we'll be able to make a pack that we can actually easily replace the pack and even upgrade it or change it at any time. So I'll show here how we're going to do that. And I've done packs like this before. I just take a JST connector, and this is the 6-pin for the 6S pack, like so. And I have populated or soldered on all the wires onto this connector already. We'll look at that in just a minute, but I'm not going to use the red and the black, but it just helps us for the video keep track of the cell banks from 0 volts to 20, so 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20. So we'll just use the middle 4. And so the first reason I ordered these was the price. The second was the dimensions worked out. So if you'll see here, it's even possible to get 2 in here. And by the way, off camera, I went ahead and took a Dremel and cut the top part off of the pack cell cage. I'll show a little bit in the video here when I pull the cells out. It was like so. And I just simply took the Dremel with a cutoff wheel and trimmed the top. And this case was in such bad shape, the front screws were busted, but I did take some drywall anchors and just cut the tops of them, slid them in and glued them in place so they're permanent. Just took a Sharpie and kind of colored them in so they're not so bright. So I'm going to take a XT60 connector and I'm just going to solder it on. Of course, we have our plus and minus. This one on the back is going to be the minus. We'll start with that one. In the front here is the plus. So we could do either spot, but I'm going to put it in the back. I'm going to use a little bit of RA rosin flux. I typically either use the RA flux or the AMTECH 559. The rosin flux does a good job, but it's a little bit more sticky and aggravating to clean up. But for big jobs, I really like to use the rosin flux because it goes a long ways. AMTECH flux is pretty expensive, but it works a lot better for SMD and other smaller components. I'm going to pull up some solder here, like so. Go ahead and make sure I tin the wire so they'll stick together really well. And the reason why I'm using this little fine solder is I have so much of it. I have larger solder as well, and I recommend it if you're doing something that's big like this, obviously. I figured somebody might ask why I'm using a small solder. I actually use it a good bit because I got a lot of it left over in short pieces from a job where the spool actually got damaged. So I actually got some pieces just coiled up, and I'm just trying to use them up because it's a really good leaded solder. A little bit more flux. I'm just going to add a little bit more solder here, puddle it up. We actually are making a good connection, but I just want to make sure. And we're going to speed the video up here to save some time. We're going to do the same thing with the red wire on the positive. XT60's do have a standard for plus and minus and are marked as so. So just always make sure you observe that when dealing with XT60s so you don't accidentally get the polarity wrong. Now back out the solder, and the reason I did the length the way I did is I know the connector is going to have to turn a hard 90 to connect up inside. So I did it that way on purpose instead of leaving it just straight. So something like that, at least I think so. It's going to mount like so. And I am concerned that these wires are going to be in the way here when I put the top of the case back on. It's looking okay now, but I can tell it's sticking down. And if we're not careful, that's going to make our contact points also push down. And we don't want that. So it looks like it might get by. I don't really like how the board's wanting to push down. So I might end up changing that out with some nickel strips. I'm going to go ahead and tin the wires now for the balancing leads, like so. And as mentioned, I'm not going to use the red and the black wires. But just to show here, going across from like 0 volts to 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20. So this will help us in the video keep up with what we're doing. We'll start with the white for the cell bank 1. Of course, we got 0 volts or our negative, and then we'll have 4 volts right here, cell bank 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. And of course the 5th bank is the positive, which is already connected, so we're good there. Some more rosin flux. My 60-watt iron will probably be just fine here, but I already got my larger iron out anyway, so I'm just going to use it. After black on my plug was white, so that's our first cell bank. And then we'll have green, and then blue, and then orange. So I'm going to skip the green on the other side, and we'll do the blue one next, which is cell bank 3. While we're already on this side, we'll take care of this one. And there we go. We're going to bring the green one around to our cell bank 2. Hold it until it's solid, and there we go. On the last one, I do have a little piece of the nickel strip still on this one. I'm just going to heat it up and pull it out. Add a little bit of fresh solder here. There we go. And this is going to be our orange lead. Our last balanced lead to connect, and we'll be done. And there we go. So the way our balancing lead comes across, 0 volts all the way to positive. And it's going to match up with this one here like so, just like that. So you can see I have red to red and the black on mine going to the first black on the LiPo pack. Now I can just remove these, just pull the pin straight out of the JST connector. And I might could use them for something else one day, but we don't need them for this. I'm just going to clean this up with some IPA. I'm going to go ahead and put the screws in the board, and we'll try it out and make sure the power leads are not going to be in the way. I have a feeling here they may be. And hopefully you can tell I did the little cutout on the side for the wires to come down. I was just guessing at what we needed here, so I may would have done that a little bit differently and went a little further forward on the negative side of it. I'm going to go ahead and hook one pack up and just make sure it does work. And of course we're not going to get a light. Even if we hook up our balance leads, we're still not going to get a light. If you remember, we got to put it on the charger to kind of wake up the BMS board. So let's do that. And there we go. I don't want the charge too far though, because I'm going to balance them with a hobby charger. to be the same before the end of the video. So I'm going to take it back off. But there you go. The pack likes it. Easy enough modification here. Let's try it out here with our Milwaukee driver. Awesome. Let's see if it'll go together okay. I think we got plenty of room here. Yeah, I really don't like how these wires are making the board sit, so I'm going to take these off right quick. I'm going to put on this 0.15 nickel strip. So we're just going to unsolder the XT60 connector, and then we'll solder it later onto the strip. We're just going to extend the strip down a little bit. That way it's very flexible and won't be pushing on the board, and it won't be that thick between the top plate and the board. Just going to put a little puddle here on the nickel strip, like so. It's long enough that I can grab it for a little while. It cools off pretty quick. As I keep the iron on it longer, I'm going to have to get my pliers here. It's going to heat up a little bit too much over time here. And there we go. We're going to let this cool off. And there we go. Same thing to the negative side. I'm going to put some heat shrink on. I think I'm going to put some Kapton tape on after the heat shrink as well, just for extra protection. Bring over the hot air to shrink it down. I've done a few boards like this in the past, and the LiPos work out really well, and it makes an easy pack to upgrade or change out in the future. And as I mentioned, I have enjoyed being able to take a hobby charger and charge up a pack as well. A lot of times I'll cut the front out of a pack so I can slide the LiPo pack in and out. This one just happens to be so busted in the front, it wasn't much else I could do. But I would recommend cutting a slot in the bottom part of the front and just sliding your batteries in and out. And I'll try to show that in the near future in a 10 amp hour pack I'm building. I kind of did it that same way. We're going to add solder to the XT60 leads again before we put them back on. Put some heat shrink on. I even got a little bit of red. I don't have much red left. That's about it. Let's go ahead and put some rosin flux on here and get a puddle going on our nickel strip. Yep, like so. Maybe a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. Just using this little mica sheet from an old battery pack years ago. I do a lot of soldering on that little mica sheet. Keeps you from burning your table or the cover I have on my table. Just pull it up here and yep. Gonna take a little bit to cool off. And there we go. Now we'll do the negative side. We'll get it pulling up, then I'll straighten it out. Yeah. Straighten it out like so and hold it. Sorry, I'm blocking the camera view here. There we go. Yep, I like it. Gonna push the heat shrink up. Make sure we overlap. I really could have made these XT60 leads a little bit shorter probably. Gives me a little more wire to have to do something weird now, but at least I'm going to have a lot of flexibility right here where this nickel strip is. And I also feel like if something bad happens with the pack, that this strip will probably be the weak point. And it's probably good to have it for that reason. But I really like how flat that is. Just got to get my wires down, yeah, like that. Make sure it's out of the way and not touching. I do like it. I'm going to go ahead and put the screws back in the board. Yep, I think that's going to work out just fine. Yep, the way it lays flat just like so. Yeah, that's tremendously better. I don't know if you can see that on video or not, but it's laying tremendously better. Like I say, I could have made those a little shorter. I think we got plenty of room though. So I cut the top off of the battery cage, the battery holder. And I will say if I had it to do again, I would probably leave the back side, make like a 90 degree. That way it would help keep it pushed up and also keep it from trying to slide back and forth. Yep, don't want to forget to put on my Kapton tape. Just another layer of protection here. The stuff is pretty good for protection. Going to make sure I also wrap some around these joints. Alright, let's put it together now. The XT60. Our balancing leads. And of course we're not going to get any lights. It's been unplugged too long. We're going to have to charge it of course before we get a light. So let's just go ahead and put it together. We'll at least just put it together and hold a plate down like so. Stick it on the charger. Yep, there we go. Now see if the button will work. Awesome. Make sure to run the tool. Yep, there we go. So we can put this together now. And again, there's where I put the little drywall anchor top piece I cut off and stuck in there and glued in, because all this is busted out. And that's why I was saying I couldn't cut the bottom part of this one out and use it. And unfortunately, even the top plate is busted on this pack. It really had a hard life. So if you see here, even now that I've modified the front where I can pull it down, it's really going to make the middle where the crack is try to open up. So unfortunately, I can't tighten this pack down like I wanted to. Well, I went ahead and let this charge on the Milwaukee charger just to show it being green and full on the video here. And what I've done, I actually done the same thing with both packs. That way they are balanced really, really close. And now I can relabel this to be a modified and broken 1.5 amp hour LiPo, so I'll know easily what's inside like so. And that was just a way to make use of this pack that really, It probably just need to be recycled, but it's going to be a handy pack to grab for especially stuff like my driver. It'll operate the drill for quite a while too, my die grinders, and even flashlights for a little while. So still got a use. Really hate that it's so busted in the front, but it is still grabbing enough to hold, but it's cracked really bad across here. And the cool thing is now I can just take my hobby charger like this Tenergy. You know, it comes with your different battery adapters, and you have your balancing lead connectors like this here. It's just another option, right? We can charge it this way if we want to, if something ever did happen to our Milwaukee charger. But of course, with the BMS board being original, the Milwaukee charger is fine as well. So we do have the second LiPo pack, and we can make this a 3 amp hour if we wanted to. I think we're going to be fine adding this one if we want to. I know this one isn't held together that great, but for the sake of the video, we probably need to go ahead and add the second one in. And I had this connector here, and this made the loop too big to really fit in there. So this Y connector was not the best for this application. So I do have them both in here just fine with plenty of room. Still a very lightweight pack. But before I connect these together in parallel, of course, as we mentioned many times on this channel, we got to make sure the cells are balanced very well. And we look here, the first pack is 20.79. Our second pack, 20.7978. So perfect. You don't want these to be at different voltage levels and plug them up, because they can produce a very high rate of current. So I do have this Y connector here, and I could shorten this up a little bit, but I think this is going to work a lot better being able to turn, and I think we have room for it. So let's see. Plug it back up. Balancing leads. Yeah, that flexibility helps a ton right there. You can see there it lays down really well. Yep, nice. And actually, if I ever come across another good case with the cells all bad, then this is already done. The board and plate's already ready to swap out, so not a big deal. Going to go ahead and put the screws in here and just not tighten them up real tight. The back I can get pretty snug, but this front, where we modified it, just where it was broke out, just enough to hold it. We don't want to pull down the top plate and bend that. We'll throw it on the charger right quick. Yep, green. So now our 3 amp hour pack is green, showing fully charged. Yeah, we got a pretty bad crack there, as you can see. It will pull down fine otherwise. It's just that this housing's too busted up. I'm going to put a 2X on here because we got 2 of the 1.5 amp hours. So that's going to be a handy 3 amp hour pack. And we have a lot of options, right? We could definitely do the larger packs as well. They just are more expensive, as you see here as an example. You can spend a lot more money on these, but if you already had them around, then sure, you could do one of these. Or I have used these in the hard case before, when all I had was a top plate, and just simply velcroed it in place or used a bungee strap, and it works excellent in stuff like flashlights, floodlights. I mean, it actually is not the best for a drill, of course, if you don't have a good base to set the drill down on or something like that, but this is a good option for other things, especially lights and maybe inflators, things you don't carry, you just need the power. I also have a video that I'm working on for a 10 amp hour. So using the 12 amp hour housing that was in good shape with those bad Samsung 40T cells, I just figure I would show putting together a 10 amp hour like power stack type battery pack. I'm just calling it the beast because it is a beast. and it should have a lot of output power being 10 amp hour LiPo. And I just thought it'd be a fun build because Milwaukee doesn't even have out a 10 amp hour power stack type LiPo cell battery yet. So just thought it'd be fun to do this build, even though it is a huge pack. I was trying to reach out the torque test channel to see if they were interested in taking it and just seeing how it would perform on torque with some of the impacts. But at this time, I've not heard back from them to see if they're interested in testing with it or not. But this does also have the real Milwaukee BMS board, so it shouldn't be harmful to tools or anything. It's got the factory BMS board. We just simply give it the 10 amp hour LiPos instead of the 21700s. And being a 3P pack, the 12 amp hour with the 21700s, it might actually outperform this one. I'm not 100% sure, but I just thought it'd be fun to test with. And it sure is easy and fun to swap out to other packs or other sizes if you wanted to, with the way I had the connection to the BMS board. And now I also do another video on another high output 8 amp hour. This one is a true 8 amp hour that I ordered from eBay with the same problem, the blinking LED fault. And this one has some bad cells as well, so I'll do a separate video on this so people can see the 8 amp hour as well being torn apart, because in that first 12 amp hour video I was trying to buy 8 amp hour to repair, and it ended up being that 6 amp hour. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. I have some links down in the video description of some tools and interesting items that I find very helpful on my workbench. Any of those links you do click on help support the channel, and I greatly appreciate it. So thanks so much for watching, and God bless.